People love to say it's luck. That trader got in at the perfect time. He's so lucky the market moved his way. It's a comforting story, isn't it? Because if success is luck, then your losses aren't your fault. If success is luck, you don't have to change. You just have to wait for your turn. But that's a lie. Luck may get you one winning trade. It may even get you one lucky streak. But it will never build you a career. I want you to picture two traders. They're watching the same chart, the same market, at the same time. Both see a breakout. Both place their trades. The market spikes. Trader A makes a quick profit and tells himself, "I've got this." Trader B takes a small loss and shrugs. Fast forward 6 months. Trader A's account is gone. Trader B is slowly, methodically building theirs. Why? Because Trader A was riding luck. Trader B was building skill. This is where most beginners get it wrong. They think the market is a slot machine. Pull the handle enough times and you'll hit the jackpot. But the market isn't a slot machine. It's a mirror. It reflects your discipline. It reflects your patience. It reflects your risk management. It reflects your self-control. If you don't have those things, the market will strip you bare, no matter how lucky you think you are. Jesse Livermore, the famous trader from the early 1900s, made and lost fortunes many times. He wasn't unlucky. He was undisciplined. When he stuck to his rules, he made millions. When he broke them, he lost it all. On the flip side, look at Richard Dennis. He took complete beginners, no experience, no talent, and taught them simple rules. They didn't need luck. They didn't even need to be brilliant. They just needed to execute. Some of those students went on to make millions because they understood the truth. Trading success isn't about predicting the market. It's about controlling yourself when the market does what it always does. Move unpredictably. Luck is temporary. Consistency is forever. And here's the hard pill to swallow. As long as you believe trading success is about luck, you will behave like a gambler. You'll size up after a win. You'll double down after a loss. You'll break your own rules chasing the high. That's how accounts die. Professional traders don't care about luck. They don't celebrate one big win. They don't panic after one loss. They know their edge isn't a single trade. Their edge is the next 100 trades, executed with the same discipline regardless of outcome. Think of a casino. The casino doesn't care who wins tonight. They don't care about the one guy who walks out with a jackpot. They know if they run the game long enough, they win. That's how you need to think. Stop being the gambler at the table. Become the house. Your system is your edge. Your discipline is your house advantage. Your job is to play long enough for that edge to show up. So if you're still chasing luck, still hoping for the one trade that changes your life, stop. That's the mindset that kills accounts. Instead, focus on process. Focus on rules. Focus on risk. Focus on the long game. Because the moment you stop believing in luck, you start building skill. And skill, executed consistently, is what prints money long after everyone else has quit. This is your wake-up call. Luck won't save you. Discipline will. And that's where our journey begins. Most traders act like tourists in Vegas. They walk into the market flashing a $500 account like it's a golden ticket. They sit at the table, chasing a hot streak, thinking the next big win will change everything. And for a moment, just a moment, they're right. They hit a trade, it spikes. The dopamine hits hard. They think, I knew I had it in me. So they go bigger. They start doubling down. They throw the plan out. Risk, what risk? This is their moment. And then, the house wins. Just like it always does. They blow the account. They blame the market. They say it was unfair, manipulated, bad luck. But deep down, they know the truth. They were never the casino. They were the gambler. The market is built to punish that mindset. It gives you just enough wins to get cocky. And then it destroys you. Let's break this down. Gamblers crave emotion. They want the rush, the thrill. They chase big trades, oversized positions, and risky setups. They ignore risk management because this one feels right. It's not trading, it's entertainment. Now compare that to how a casino operates. The casino doesn't get emotional. It doesn't need to win every hand. In fact, it loses all the time. Individual bets, single games, even a big payout here and there. But the casino plays one game, probability.edge, volume. They have a system. They understand the odds. They know that as long as the doors stay open and the rules stay in place, they win. You have to become that. You must switch roles, stop sitting at the table, and start owning it. Let's go deeper. Trader A is emotional. He risks $100 on a $500 account because he feels good about the setup. He makes $200 and thinks he cracked the code. So next time he risks $300, it fails. Now he's down to scraps. Desperate, panicked, he goes all in. Boom, game over. Trader B, he risks 1% per trade. He journals every move. He sizes down during volatile markets. He doesn't get rich overnight, but he survives. And in trading, survival is the goal. The gamblers never last. They come and go in waves. You see them every day, loud when they're up, silent when they're down. But the quiet ones, the process guys, they're still here, still playing, still stacking small edges into something massive. That's the real game. Look at Edward Thorpe, one of the first to beat the blackjack tables using math. He didn't bet emotionally. He bet with an edge. He later applied the same mindset to Wall Street and became one of the greatest quant investors of all time. Or George Soros. He didn't bet often, but when he did, it was calculated, researched, and deliberate. They weren't gamblers. They were operators. You've got to flip that switch, because if you're chasing wins, if you're sizing up after a win and doubling down after a loss, you're not trading. You're gambling with slightly better branding. You want to be different? Detach from the outcome. Follow your process like a cold, quiet professional. Build a system. Stick to it. Don't crave action. Crave execution. Because the truth is brutal. The market is a casino. And if you don't act like the owner, you're just another tourist waiting to be cleaned out. We're here to build consistency, to develop systems, to think long-term, to think like the house. Because once you stop gambling and start thinking like a business, that's when the real compounding begins. Let's talk about that mindset shift next. 2 traders, same setup, same chart, same entry. One ends the week in profit. The other blows up their account. How? This is one of the greatest illusions in trading. People obsess over strategies, indicators, and tools, thinking if they could just get what that other trader has, they'd win too. But here's the truth. It's not the system that wins. It's the operator. Think about it like this. You give a chef and a random guy on the street the same knife, the same ingredients, and the same recipe. Who's going to plate a Michelin star dish? Who's going to start a kitchen fire? Trading is the same. Let me introduce you to Trader A and Trader B. Trader A just bought a shiny new course. They load up the same indicators the instructor uses. They've memorized the rules, breakouts, pullbacks, and candle patterns. But the moment the market twitches, fear kicks in. They hesitate. They chase. They move their stop loss. They break the rules, all of them, trying to fix a bad trade. By the end of the week, they've taken 20 trades, and their account is bleeding. Now let's look at Trader B. Same strategy, same chart, same rules. But they've done the real work, the boring work. They journal. They review trades. They know their stats. They've trained themselves to act like a machine. When the setup appears, Trader B takes the trade, no hesitation. When it hits stop loss, they take it and move on. No revenge trade. When it hits the target, they log it, review it, and keep going. By the end of the week, Trader B has taken just 5 trades. But they're green, not because of some secret edge, but because they followed their process. Same tools, same system, different mindset, different outcomes. This is where most traders fail. They think the answer is out there. They hop from indicator to indicator, mentor to mentor, and strategy to strategy, hoping to find the magic formula. But the real formula? Consistency plus discipline. Survival. You don't need 10 strategies. You need one that you can execute 100 times without breaking. Let's take it deeper. In the late 1980s, Richard Dennis ran an experiment. He took a group of absolute beginners, the famous turtle traders, and gave them the same system. Same entry, same rules, same risk management. Some of those turtles made millions. Others failed. Why? Because the system wasn't the edge. The mindset was. The ones who followed the rules with no emotional interference thrived. The ones who second-guessed, who panicked, who needed to feel right, they crumbled. This is the core truth. 2 traders can trade the same plan, but they will never have the same outcome unless they become the same person mentally. One operates from emotion, the other from execution. One trades not to win, but to survive. The other tries to feel something and ends up with nothing. Ask yourself, do you actually need another tool? Or do you need to build the version of yourself who can use what you already have? Because trading isn't about information, it's about application. And application demands control. Poker players know this. Soldiers know this. Pilots know this. In high-stakes games, the one who stays calm under pressure wins. Not the one with more buttons, more tricks, or more flashy systems. So next time you see someone winning with your strategy, don't ask, what are they using? Ask, how are they thinking? Because that's where the edge lives. Let this be the mindset shift. Don't change your system. Upgrade your operator. And that's how you go from random results to reliable performance. Let's keep going, because in the next phase, we'll break down what true consistency actually looks like, and why it's the boring traders who quietly build wealth while everyone else chases fireworks. History doesn't lie. It just whispers to those who are willing to listen. And if you listen closely, past the charts, beyond the noise, you'll notice something. The traders who made it, the ones who built fortunes, they didn't win because they were lucky. They won because they could survive chaos. Let's start with a name every trader should know, Jesse Livermore. The man who shorted the 1907 panic. The man who called the 1929 crash. The man who made and lost millions not once, but multiple times. Now, here's the truth most people skip. Livermore didn't blow up because of the market. He blew up when he stopped following his own rules. But every time he stayed disciplined, patient, and calculated, he thrived. His comebacks weren't magic. They were built on structure, conviction, and the willingness to sit out when the market wasn't right. He once said, "The market is never wrong, opinions often are." That's not a quote from a gambler. That's the mindset of a professional who learned the hard way that ego and emotion will bankrupt you. Now fast forward a few decades to Richard Dennis, the man behind the legendary turtle traders. Dennis believed something radical, that anyone, literally anyone, could learn to trade profitably if they followed rules. So he proved it. He trained a group of complete beginners, people with no experience, no background, just a willingness to learn. He gave them a system. He drilled discipline into their bones. And what happened? They turned small accounts into millions, not because of genius, not because of market timing, but because they executed a repeatable edge without letting emotions sabotage the process. That's the part most traders miss. They think the pros feel the market. No, the pros follow the plan. And then there's George Soros. Soros didn't become a billionaire by predicting every move. He didn't try to be right all the time. In fact, he was wrong often. But when the odds lined up and he had conviction, he struck hard. Like in 1992 when he broke the Bank of England. He didn't guess. He waited, he watched, he planned, and when the setup was right, he bet big. Soros once said, "It's not whether you're right or wrong. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong." That's it. That's the DNA of a millionaire trader. They aren't wizards. They don't win because they know the future. They win because they survive long enough to play the game when the edge is real. They cut losses. They stay calm. They don't overreact. They detach from the outcome and execute like machines. Look back through history, you'll see the pattern. Winners are not the smartest. They're the most consistent. They're not flashy. They're not loud. They're disciplined. And that's what outlasts chaos. The market will always throw curveballs, black swans, flash crashes, volatility. But the traders who outlast those storms, they're the ones who treat trading like a business, not a lottery ticket. They focus on the edge, on risk in process. The tools change, the strategies evolve, but the mindset, the psychology, that's timeless. So don't chase the latest indicator, study the greats. And more importantly, study how they thought, not just what they traded. Because if you can install their mindset, you install their results. Now let's take everything we've learned and talk about the biggest shift of all, how to think like the house, not the player. It doesn't happen all at once. Inconsistency doesn't slam through the front door. It sneaks in quietly, through the cracks of your emotions. One win and suddenly you're a genius. You think you've cracked the code. You increase your size. You get bold. You get sloppy. Then the market humbles you. One loss wipes out 3 wins. Now the fear sets in. You hesitate. You second guess. You exit early, only to watch the trade hit the target. Then you force a trade just to make it back. And just like that, you're no longer trading a plan. You're trading your emotions. Welcome to the emotional cycle. Every trader rides it. The only question is, do you know when it's happening? Let's break it down. After a big win, your brain gets hit with dopamine. You feel powerful, untouchable. It's the same chemical that lights up in gamblers after a jackpot. But here's the twist. That high doesn't lead to better decisions. It leads to overconfidence. Suddenly you're trading a bigger size, taking weaker setups, entering too early. Because now, you're not managing risk. You're feeding your ego. Then comes the inevitable loss. And with it, the crash. The voice in your head flips. What if I lose again? Maybe this setup isn't good enough. Let's wait a little longer. So you sit. You hesitate. You miss the clean move. Now you're frustrated. And frustration leads to revenge. You jump into a random trade, not because your edge is there, but because you need to feel in control again. But you're not in control. The market is, and it doesn't care about your feelings. This emotional ping-pong, from greed to fear, from confidence to panic, is what kills most traders. Not their strategy, not their lack of education. Their inconsistency is rooted in emotional blindness, because when you're in it, you can't see it. You think it's just a bad day. You think it's the market being manipulated. But what's really happening is you're being manipulated by your own psychology. You're not trading the chart. You're trading your past results. A recent win has your foot on the gas. A recent loss has you slamming the brakes. This isn't trading. This is gambling on your mood swings. Now here's the good news. The first weapon is awareness. You can't fight what you don't recognize. But once you see the cycle, you can start to break it. That's where journaling comes in. That's where tracking your emotional state, not just your P&L, becomes your edge. When you write down, I felt invincible after that win and entered too early on the next trade, you're building self-awareness. When you admit, I skipped that A+ setup because I was still shaken from the last loss, you're shining a light on the hidden saboteur. And once you see it, you can neutralize it. You start to detach. You start to trade based on your plan, not your past. The goal is not to never feel fear or greed. The goal is to not let them drive the car. You're still human. But now you're a human with structure. And that's the difference between blowing up and showing up, day after day, trade after trade. Because consistency isn't built on talent. It's built on emotional control. Now let's look at how the traders who thrive don't just manage emotions, they transform them. And it starts with thinking like a machine when it comes to risk. Let's go deeper. Everyone wants to predict, to be the one who called it, who nailed the top, who bought the bottom. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Professionals don't chase predictions. They chase the process. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. Imagine a pilot. Before takeoff, he doesn't guess what might go wrong mid-flight. He doesn't say, I feel like the weather will be fine today. He doesn't wing it. He runs the checklist. Every switch, every gauge, every system checked, verified, executed, because lives depend on it. And yet, everyday traders walk into the market like gamblers walking into a casino, hoping their gut is right, hoping their prediction plays out, hoping the market behaves. That's not trading. That's emotional roulette. Now picture two traders. Trader A wants to be right. They scan the market like a fortune teller. They watch YouTube videos, follow gurus, and scroll Twitter. They're constantly hunting the next big prediction. And when they're wrong, they spiral. They overtrade. They double down to get it back. Now look at Trader B. Trader B doesn't care about being right. They care about following the checklist. Did the setup match? Did the risk parameters align? Did the trade follow the playbook? If yes, they take it. If no, they sit out. They don't need to predict the future. They need to follow a system that plays out over time. One lives in emotional chaos. The other lives in repeatable, scalable behavior. This is where professionals separate from amateurs. Not in edge, but in mindset. Let's go deeper. George Soros once said, it's not whether you're right or wrong that matters. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. That's process over prediction. Jesse Livermore, one of the most legendary traders of all time, made and lost millions. Why? Because sometimes he followed his process, and sometimes he chased his ego. The times he got rich, it wasn't magic. It was a method. The pilot mindset. Discipline over drama. Let's take a simpler analogy, poker. The best players fold more hands than they play. They're not trying to win every round. They're waiting for the setup, the edge. They don't go all in on a hunch. They know when to bet big and when to walk away. Same in trading. The pros are patient. They're systematic. They're process-obsessed. Because they know you can't control the market. You can only control yourself. Here's the paradox. The more you chase being right, the more often you'll be wrong. The more you anchor to the outcome, the more emotionally fragile you become. But the more you trust your process, the more resilient you become in any condition. You stop reacting. You start executing. You stop gambling. You start operating. So here's the question every trader must answer. Are you trying to be right, or are you trying to last? Because the trader who lasts wins. Eventually the numbers work. The edge plays out. The process proves itself. And that's the goal. Not to win today, but to win over time. Let this land hard. You don't need to predict. You need to prepare. You don't need to be the smartest. You need to be the most consistent. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be professional. That's the shift. And it's the one thing most traders never make. But if you do, if you choose process over prediction, you start building something no one can take from you. Control, discipline, longevity. Let's move forward, because next, we'll break down how millionaire traders think about risk and why it has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with math. Everyone wants excitement. They want fireworks, drama, that movie moment trade that triples their account overnight. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Millionaire traders are boring. They're not chasing thrills, they're chasing the edge. And an edge only works when it's repeated. Let me tell you something that will mess with your ego. The best traders are more like machines than magicians. They aren't sitting at their screens every day trying to reinvent the game. They're repeating the same trade, same setup, same risk, same rules, over and over, and over and over, because they know something most beginners refuse to accept. Mastery isn't sexy. It's not about how many setups you know. It's about how well you execute one. Think of it like this. A poker pro doesn't need to win every hand. They just need to play their edge consistently. Fold the trash. Play the math. Let variance handle the rest. Or imagine a sniper. He doesn't shoot every moving thing. He waits, he studies. He pulls the trigger only when the odds stack in his favor. That's trading. It's not a video game. It's not a casino. And it's definitely not a place to prove how smart or special you are. But the problem? Most traders crave stimulation. They want action. They want to feel alive. So what do? They overtrade. They force setups. They jump into the market because it's been a while. And then they wonder why the account bleeds. Here's the truth. Repetition is your edge. Boredom is a signal. Not that something's wrong, but that something's working. Millionaire traders don't get bored and change their system. They get bored and double down on their discipline. They track every trade. They log every metric. They refine entries and exits. Not because they're chasing perfection, but because they respect the process. And that's where true power comes from. Not from randomness, not from luck, but from deliberate, boring, mechanical execution. You want to be a pro? Fall in love with boredom. Because boredom means you're not reacting emotionally. It means you're following structure. It means you're no longer chasing dopamine. You're chasing consistency. And here's the paradox. The more boring your process, the more exciting your results. Now let that sink in. The trader who jumps from strategy to strategy dies by 1,000 tweaks. The trader who shows up does the same thing and trusts the edge. That's the trader who compounds over time. So next time you're tempted to spice things up, ask yourself this. Are you here to trade like a pro, or entertain yourself like a gambler? There's a big difference. The pros, they already made their decision. They chose repetition. They chose boredom. They chose wealth. Let's take that energy into the final chapter, where we reveal how this mindset shift becomes your real superpower, while others burn out chasing noise. Ready? Let's finish strong. Most people think trading success comes from a better system, a better indicator, a better entry, a better risk-reward. But the truth is colder, sharper. It's not about what you do, it's about who you become. There's a moment in every serious trader's journey where the wins, the losses, and the spreadsheets, they all blur. And you realize something profound. You're not just trading positions. You're trading identity. Let's rewind. Meet Trader A, we'll call him the dabbler. He's always testing a new strategy. One week it's options. The next it's scalping crypto. He's subscribed to 10 signal groups, bouncing between opinions, looking for the holy grail. He gets a win, he's ecstatic. A loss, he rage quits and disappears for days. Trader A doesn't have a process, he has hope. He doesn't have a plan, he has reactions. Now meet Trader B, the operator. He trades the same setup every day. Same routine, same prep, same journal. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but it's repeatable. He doesn't care if a trade wins or loses. He cares if it was executed according to the plan. See the difference? The dabbler trades to feel something. The operator trades to build something. And that's the shift most never make. Because let's be honest, the operator life looks boring on Instagram. No flashy gains, no dramatic screenshots, no emotional roller coasters. Just calm execution, stable growth, silent discipline. But that's the path that works. Let's bring in a real-world example. The turtle traders, Richard Dennis's famous experiment. He trained complete beginners with zero experience to trade like pros. How? Not with secret strategies, but with discipline, rules, and mindset. He turned them from dabblers into operators, and they made millions. On the flip side, Nick Leeson. He worked at Barings Bank, a respected institution, but he couldn't control his ego. One bad trade, then another, and he hid the losses. He didn't want to be wrong. He didn't want to follow the boring rules. He blew up the entire bank. 1.4 billion gone. The operator protects capital. The dabbler blows it up chasing pride. The difference is identity, and it shows up in the smallest things. The operator journals even on losing days. The dabbler only shows up when he feels like it. The operator sticks to the rules, especially when it's boring. The dabbler improvises, especially when it's tempting. The operator thinks in years. The dabbler thinks in dopamine hits. Now here's the kicker. You don't become an operator overnight. Starts with one decision. I'm done dabbling. Not after your next win. Not after you find the perfect setup. Right now. You decide you'll show up. You'll follow the plan. You'll journal your trades. You'll protect your capital. You'll think like a professional, even if you're still growing the account. Because identity isn't about what you have. It's about what you consistently do. Want to know the hidden reason why most traders quit? It's not the losses. It's that their actions never matched their identity. They never fully became who the game requires. They dabbled. They hoped. They broke. So here's the hard truth. Success doesn't come from doing trades. It comes from becoming a trader. And the day you shift from hype chaser to operator, from gambler to professional, from emotional to intentional, that's the day the game starts changing for you. From the inside out. Let's wrap it up with the final chapter, where we bring all these pieces together and expose the one truth that quietly separates the winners from everyone else. Everyone wants to be a trader, but most are just dabbling. They dip in and out. One day they're learning MACD. The next day it's order blocks, then crypto, then options. It looks like trading on the outside. Charts open, indicators glowing, orders flying, but inside, it's chaos. No structure, no process, no identity. They're not traders, they're dabblers. And dabblers don't last, because when the losses come, and they will, they fall apart. They chase, they doubt, they tweak, they quit. But the ones who last, they go through a transformation. They stop asking, what setup should I trade today? And start asking, who do I need to become to trade this properly? That's the shift, the identity shift, from someone who takes trades to someone who operates a trading business. Let me give you an example. Trader A, he's on YouTube daily hunting secret strategies. He's switching brokers looking for lower fees. He's posting P&Ls on Reddit for validation. He feels like a trader, but he's reacting. Now Trader B wakes up at the same time, reviews the same setups, logs every trade, doesn't skip the journal, tracks emotions like he tracks price. He doesn't need hype. He needs performance. One is a hobbyist, the other, an operator. And the difference is night and day. Professionals build systems around themselves. Athletes, they don't hope to feel good on game day. They have routines, nutrition, and mindset coaches. Pilots, they don't wing it. They have checklists, simulations, and debriefs. So why should trading be any different? You don't become consistent by adding more indicators. You become consistent by becoming the kind of person who respects rules, even when they're boring. Especially when they're boring. Because real traders understand, the edge isn't just in the market. It's in their mindset. It's in their ability to execute a plan when everyone else is panicking, chasing, or quitting. And that identity? It doesn't happen by accident. It's built through habits, through rituals, through repetition. It's built every day you show up, even when there's no trade, especially when there's no trade. Because trading isn't about action, it's about discipline. And here's the most honest truth of all. Success doesn't come from doing trades. It comes from becoming a trader. Calm, patient, process-driven operator. Not someone who needs every trade to work, but someone who knows their work. So ask yourself, are you still dabbling? Or are you ready to become someone who operates? Because the market isn't looking for thrill seekers. It's looking for professionals. And those who make the shift are the ones who build careers, while the rest burn out in cycles of chaos. You've seen what happens to the dabblers. Now it's your time to choose. Will you stay one of them? Or will you step into the role you were meant to play? Let's go from hype to high performance. The final shift is waiting. Everyone's chasing perfection. Perfect entries, perfect exits, perfect win rates. But here's the harsh truth. Perfection is a fantasy. The market doesn't care how perfect your setup looks. It doesn't care if your indicator lines up just right, or if your thesis made sense. The market cares about one thing. Can you survive the chaos? Because in this game, the ones who make it, they aren't the ones who were perfect. They're the ones who didn't quit. Let me take you back to Jesse Livermore, one of the most famous traders in history. He made millions, lost it, made it again. But what separated him? It wasn't that he avoided pain. It's that he kept showing up. Soros didn't win every trade, but he knew how to cut fast, hold strong, and stick to his process. Richard Dennis? He didn't recruit perfectionists. He trained beginners because he knew discipline could be taught. And that's the common thread. Survivors win. Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they don't get wiped out. They respect risk. They stay in the game. You want the real edge? It's not a strategy. It's not some secret indicator. It's longevity. Staying in the game long enough to let compounding do the work, to let your edge reveal itself, to turn probability into profit. But most traders, they don't survive. They blow up chasing perfection. One oversized position, one revenge trade, one I was so sure moment, and it's over. Here's the shift. Your number one job is not to make money. It's to protect your ability to trade tomorrow. Because if you can trade tomorrow, you can learn, you can adjust, you can grow. But what if you blow up today? The story ends. So stop obsessing over being perfect. Start obsessing over being consistent. Because luck fades, hype fades, even winning streaks fade. But consistency? That scales. That multiplies. That creates something real. It's not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. But it's the truth. The traders who thrive aren't the ones who crush it for 6 months. They're the ones who last 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, quiet, focused, unshakable. That's your edge. That's your mission. Survive, stay consistent, and let the amateurs chase perfection while you build something that lasts. That's the mindset of a real trader. And if you're still here, then you're ready. Let's go build it.